Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. But that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode. And this time we're going to talk about something a little bit different. That is a thermal cooker. This happens to be the Tiger thermal cooker. And there's a couple different brands out there. Tiger makes pretty good products if they are made in Japan. So if you're looking for a good rice cooker, the Tiger rice cooker made in Japan is considered pretty good for a basic rice cooker. This thermal pot was also made in Japan. So what is a thermal cooker? Well, basically it's like a big thermos in the shape of a pot, and it allows you to cook with passive heat. So if you look at here, it has this kind of thing here. It has this insulated lid, if you can see it there. And then there's an inner pot like this, which you can put on the stove. It looks a little dirty, sorry. It should have polished it up. We have this inner pot and a lid. And then there's the outer pot, which of course you cannot cook in. This is part of the thermal lining. This unit just fits together like this. And then you have the lid that just sits on top in a groove. It does not lock or do anything like that. It just sort of sits on top of there. So I'm very curious in this whole idea of passive cooking. So what is passive cooking? It's just an energy saving way. It's also a way to do basically slow cooking without using electricity. It'd be great for camping or for backpackers, or if you're trying to conserve fuel for some reason. And what you do is you cook your ingredients to a boil. Typically you let it heat up for a bit, 5 minutes or so, and then you pour it in the thermal cooker and you seal it, and then that passive heat, that heat that is already in the food mixture, is trapped by the thermos quality of the thermal cooker, and it continues to cook. And you can use this for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours or longer and get a decent product out of it without any electricity after the initial heating. So I did some pictures. Let me show you those now. So I'm not going to give you the stew recipe strictly because it's just a stew recipe that I found on the internet for thermal cookers, but it's just a stew recipe. But I wanted to show you that we're using regular ingredients. This is not some sort of instant mix or kind of dehydrated food. We're using real stuff, which we then chopped up. I use this little food processor a lot. It does a great job. It's not very expensive. It's made by Black & Decker. And then we sauteed the ingredients on the stove, added our liquid ingredients and of course some of our other vegetables, added more fluid, and added the meat. The meat was not browned in any way. It was just coated in flour. Then it all gets covered up, so everything gets sealed, and this is that inner pot that you can put on the stove. It kind of shows you what it looks like. And you can see that we're pretty full, and one of the things with thermal cookers is that you have to stay pretty full, otherwise you lose too much heat. And so this is what it looks like out of the pot. You can see that it is all completely cooked. This particular stew was supposed to take about 4 hours. I think we left it in the cooker for about 8 hours. Here's another shot of that. It looks pretty good with a little sour cream on it. And what I would say is that it was cooked well, not quite as tender as what you would expect in a crock pot or a slow cooker type of gadget, but cooked perfectly fine. The other thing that I would say about it is that ours was it was warm, certainly at a point where you could eat it comfortably, but it was not hot after that time period. So I know some of the other thermal cookers maybe retain the heat a little bit better. I'm going to check one of those out too, but certainly acceptable, certainly high quality products. The product I would recommend, but thermal cooking is something that you may want to get into if you're just into doing fun stuff, or you're out camping or something and you want to have a hot meal when you come back after a long hike and you don't really have access to electricity. So let me get out of these pictures, and I'm back again. And so would I recommend this thermal cooker? Yes. Are there better ones out there? I'll have to check and see. Would I recommend this as a fun method to use either at home or camping, or in situations, maybe if you're staying in a motel room someplace and you heat something on a little propane stove or a little butane stove, and you pour it in there and you have a hot meal at the end of the day? You could certainly do that too. And it's just an interesting, different way to cook. So if you get some time, give my podcast a listen. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. It's now a show that has myself and my wife. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist. She's a licensed clinical PhD level psychologist, and we have a discussion, sometimes a little banter back and forth. we're not always in agreement. So you might find that fun. Also, I have a experiment called drmikekuna.com. It's drmikekuna.com. It's an experimental writing blog. Basically, what I'm trying to do in that blog is get my feelings out, talk a little more honestly. I'm trying to see if I have what it takes to write something a little bit more in depth, and that means putting myself out there and talking about my feelings a little bit more than I would normally do. So if you want to check that out, learn a little bit more about me, feel free to do that too. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.